Hello, we are back.
Hey, all.
We need to talk, the
Yeah,
three of us, probably.
sure.
So
Um,
is what happens that Mr. Slane walks off and leaves us in the train yard, or
So that's a good question. Like, I think he absolutely is happy to let you confer. He understands the necessity for discretion, but it's also his space.
yeah, we are 100% on his turf, and almost anything we say or do here is going to be reported to him.
Yes.
So
So it's worth noting he's not listening to you, but he has people listening to you, and that you understand.
I would like to cut back to our office,
Cool.
if that's okay.
Totally fine. I want to do one thing on the map. Do you have the map up right
Oh,
now?
yeah, let me bring it up. One moment.
I want to point out something, which is
Let me move you guys over there, too, so you can see.
all right. So this is where the Blue Stick Precinct is, right? On Pickett Street.
Yes. Right there.
And yeah, right there. And this is where you were,
Yes.
right? In the old rail yard.
Right.
Like right across the street, right?
It's across the street, essentially, yes.
Right? It's not far. Technically his territory. He's sort of part of a loose affiliation that are called the fuel rights, the people that fuel the city, the people that make industry go in Coleridge. And the fuel rights technically, they like operate all the Dunville owned stuff. So there's the Dunville coal mine, there's the ironworks, there's the forges, there's all that area. The rail yard is not technically theirs, but obviously they've staked a claim to some part of it, or he has staked a claim to some part of it.
Yeah, like the Dunville family owns essentially the entire western side of this map,
Yeah.
plus extra stuff, and he's their top foreman, boss,
Yep.
whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. So he's walking around Dunville turf, pretty confidently.
So we have at the Blue Coat precinct, which is a rather large structure. We have Wicker's old office,
Yeah.
a Blue Coat that Inspector Annexus kicked off onto the canal detail
Yeah.
for being a dick.
He's Wicket tried to get a little, or Wicker tried to get a little too friendly with Inspector Nixus the first day she arrived, and he quickly found himself on the boat.
it's
he,
about sending a message,
he is clearly pulling traps out of the water that have and checking them and throwing them back in again. He's making sure people aren't polluting the fine canals of Dusk, the fine waterways of
It's
Dusk.
very important work. It's very important work.
Yeah.
It just because it's choked with ghosts that want to eat your face, like that is just another level of prestige. That
Yeah, he doesn't ever go in the water, at least if he can help it. But anyway, yes. So Wicket's name was engraved like with a knife, like carved into. He had to have been somebody somewhat important to have an office. So I think he was like a lieutenant. Like he was a step below the commander.
He was like a duty sergeant or something,
Yeah.
maybe. Like he was in charge of a shift.
Yeah.
So that's a big step down. Like we saw right out of the gate that Inspector Annixus can like just throw her weight around completely.
Yes, unilaterally.
Yeah.
And it's not
narrowly
without
controlled.
notice.
Right.
Everybody, I mean, I think if we want to cut to the scene of you inside that office,
Yeah.
there's like 5 blue coats staring at that office, like staring daggers at that office.
Yeah, it's like the classic police thing where it has like glass partitioned offices that you can see into.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because we didn't take hidden or anything for our place, so it's just like in the precinct.
Yeah.
And we have our board that would be covered in note cards and red string, but it's conspicuously empty. There's like
Yep.
there's nothing on it.
Yeah.
There's just the warrant, the initial writ of the warrant pinned to the top of it.
Oh, nice. That is some intimidation tactics. Like, boom. Here's our imperial
This is
writ.
what we're about. Yeah, and it's got like the seal on it with the little ribbon and everything.
And we just leave it in there. It's like no one's gonna fucking touch that.
No one-
like.
I mean,
yeah.
That's hilarious.
safe as houses, right? Like you're in a blue coat precinct.
Yeah.
Who's gonna mess with your warrant? I don't know. Lots of people, but no one has.
So I was gonna say that what we see when we cut in here is me pinning like Master Slane's card up into the like primary position for the mandate. But I'm totally not doing that because everyone's watching us. So
Yep. Yeah, and I don't think they just sit and stare, but they very conspicuously as they're walking by, there's
they'll
the
be, like,
long
looking in.
head glance on the way in.
Mhm.
Now Wicker had his name engraved, let's say on the door, on the below the glass on the door. What is it? Is it still there? Have you like scraped it off? What's the?
There is a nicely engraved copper plate
Mhm.
affixed to the door over top of it that says Inspector Anixis.
Excellent. And is the like the cursive style, like a Hadrathi style?
Oh yeah, it's
like carved.
it whatever it is, it looks fancy. That's what
Yes.
matters. It's
Yeah.
way too posh.
it looks
for this
fancy, but
one.
it doesn't look Aruvian.
No, it's like
Does not look Aruvian.
the
Okay,
imperial, whatever the like standard imperial typeface is. It's in that.
got it.
Yeah.
It's the
If such a
it
thing
looks
exists.
it looks as of the inspector. Oh yeah, of course. I'm sure.
So it's very officious looking.
Yeah.
Hmm.
yeah, Minion Pro.
Yes, of course.
Comic Sans.
God damn it.
Cool. So yeah, so you're in there in you're being observed, but no one's listening in on you. And eventually people do just sort of have to get back to their work. So it's not like they're actively spying on you.
I don't beat around the bush. Like I step in close so like we're not making a lot of noise in the precinct, but I immediately, like when we cut into the scene, I'm telling them what Slane told me to and what Slane wants. And I'm telling them with an intensity that is like a little bit he's actually targeting my family members, and also an intensity of, hey, this is our guy, we just need to get this guy and this whole thing's over, like easy peasy, like that kind of thing. He's the one we want, so let's do this. It's simple.
And just to be clear, the person that Slane wants taken out is
It's a guy named Topper, which I'm guessing
Topper.
you know. I've heard the name, but I don't know them, so I just say the name.
I know Janice knows Hopper very well. In fact,
No, not Hopper. Sorry,
not Hopper.
Topper. I'm sorry, I chose a name that was way too close.
Yeah,
to
that's
Hopper.
that's kind of confusing.
Yeah.
People mix
Let's,
those two up all the time in the neighborhood.
Hopper is a significant person to Janice, so maybe let's call him
Yes.
something else.
let's call him Teller instead.
There you
Tell
go.
her. Okay.
Tell her.
Well, that changes her reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I was just like, but what the? God damn it. Okay, let me refigure that.
Okay, so
Throwing
I can
all-
fill in some detail while you're thinking, which is that Inspector Anixis is very, like, in a very perfect hand, writing out the names of all these people onto little index cards to stick to the
Mhm.
board. So there's
Nice.
already one for Mr. Slane.
Mister. So
She has his like first initials, like Mr. A. Slane or whatever his actual first name is.
can I make us like an out of character suggestion for what you're writing, Andrew?
Sure.
That you have some sort of inspector code that you write in.
Okay, so it's not written in English. Like we give these people,
I
everyone
mean,
has a pseudonym.
If
in
what
this?
if what you're saying is my character doesn't give a fuck and I just write their names on the board and I don't care, then that's, you should definitely do that.
Right.
I'm not trying to like change your role play here. I just was thinking like,
It does mean everybody in the precinct knows who you're after, though.
Yeah.
Like,
Which-
it means that if you're concerned about it leaking,
maybe that's what you want, and if that's what you want, you should totally do that. I'm not trying to stop you.
Yeah, we are kind of on hostile turf, aren't we?
It's
And I think
place in the
she's
dark, yes.
she's definitely smart enough to know
You're
that.
you're,
so-
you're not liked by the Bluecoats. In fact, your faction status by the Bluecoats is -1.
Right.
You're with a
Okay,
bunch of
yeah.
people who don't like you and will do what they can to interfere if it doesn't cost them anything. Or doesn't
So
cost them much.
she has like a key for the board in her notebook at the back, and she's writing their names on that, and then putting up a card that corresponds to each of them as like a person of interest on the board.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, so she's put these two cards that just have these two like random Duskfall citizen names. And then she goes back and like sits down and has the page of the book open. And it's
So
like
those
looking at
names
the
are
board.
pseudonyms. Those names
Yeah.
are okay. Got it.
But it's the pseudonym for Mr. Slane
Mm-hmm.
and this teller person
Yep.
with like a connecting line.
Are you gonna put Bell Brogan on? Because if I mean, assuming did talk mention
Yeah,
that
yep.
yeah. So Slane definitely mentioned that Brogan was the problem, the big problem here.
So Slane said that my niece is the main problem, and Teller is one of her people.
Mhm.
So in the hierarchy, it would be Slane to Bell to Teller.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Does-
so I think all the cards just say like citizen red, citizen blue, citizen purple, citizen chartreuse. Like they just have color names.
Yeah.
Person from Trap.
I'm just wondering if Bell is up there in
Yeah.
as
If anyone that we have established gets
Yeah.
added to the board, even if they are nothing, even if they don't mean anything to the case, they're like down along the bottom. There's a card for them. There's a corresponding entry in her notebook.
Mm-hmm.
Like she just writes everything down. So there's a trail for all of it.
Would Janice know anything about Teller already?
Oh yeah. Oh, of course. Let's see. Well, let me tell you what you would know for sure, and then if you want to, you can sort of flash back to gather more information if you want more specific questions asked. Teller was a factory worker who got a really was working on one of the ships when you don't know exactly what happened. You don't know exactly because you weren't necessarily in the factory, but everybody knows that it was like double shifts. Everyone was working way overtime. Everyone was super tired. It was the Nightbreaker like had to go out the next day, and so everybody was just working their asses off to get the final repairs done. And somebody slipped. Somebody made a mistake. It wasn't necessarily Teller that did it, but this huge sheet of metal just came down and crushed his ankle and just twisted his foot horribly. And it's unrepairable. So he continued to work. He continued to work in the factories doing other things, and then he lost a couple fingers in another accident. And he has of late he continued working because he still had a good hand and a good foot. And as of late, however, and he's just, this is not like an uncommon story necessarily, but he has recently started with like one crutch, literally standing on milk crates and just riling people up and telling them about how bad it is inside and being really vocal in that. And he's really tall. He's naturally, he's like way thinner and gaunt, and he's way thinner than Talk is, but he probably stands eye to eye or close to that Talk.
Got it.
Yeah. So that's what, you know from living in Brixton.
Okay. I guess what Janice would want to know is who would miss Teller if something were to happen to him, if Slane got to him. So I can flash back
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm probably going to roll question. No, I would roll relate for this. That changes the tenor.
Yeah.
I would roll relate to Kitty, actually. Kitty is all in the factory mess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Kitty's totally in the factory mess. She's well connected, at least to like the rumor mill. She wouldn't lie to you. I think this is a controlled. Well, it's a fortune roll, and there's no risk here, so it's really just a question of like how good is Kitty's information, right? Like how much does she know is really the question, and Kitty would want to help you. So I mean, in a weird way, I'm gonna say,
She can get a bonus die for that. That's fine.
yeah. I was thinking like as a group action, but yeah. So Kitty's helping you. So take a bonus die.
Okay.
Think of all the devil's bargains that we can do now that family members are being used as informants.
Right.
I mean,
So
When you put
thank
it
you,
that
thank
way.
you so much, Andrew. So if you would like, since this is a flashback and it takes place over time, if you would like, Kitty can investigate this for you. Kitty can do more than just tell you what she knows. She can actually ask around. Then it becomes an action roll because then Kitty's at risk. But
yeah.
you can have a devil's bargain, and the devil's bargain is literally just that it's an action roll instead of a fortune roll because Kitty's at risk. Like there's no inherent like, oh, she's definitely gonna get caught. But there's now a chance she's gonna get caught because she's not
Just doing her usual thing and then telling you what comes up naturally. She's pushing for that little extra.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's risky. It would go from fortune to risky if you did that.
I will take that.
Okay. Cool.
Risky
I think
standard.
it's a risky standard, yeah.
And is it 2 bonus dice now?
Yeah, it's a bonus die because Kitty's
Okay.
helping, and it's
And then one for the devil's bargain.
It's one for the devil's bargain. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. Perfect result.
The classic.
You get what you want, and the risk comes to bear. All right. So the consequence that Kitty's going to have is going to really be based on the question that you have. So, what question would you like to ask? What would you like to know?
I want to know. I want to know who keeps Teller in food and shelter because he's not working. I want to know like who's backing Teller up.
Ooh, that's a good question. I like that.
When's his monies?
Yeah. Whose muns are these?
Okay. Okay, so the obvious answer is it's Bell, right? That's the Teller is definitely speaking on Bell's behalf, and he works. Well, it doesn't work for her, but he is. The two of them see eye to eye.
He doesn't work for her. She just gives him money to do stuff.
Yeah, his job is to go talk about the things that he genuinely feels about the state of the factories.
Yes, right. That's a really good way of putting it. However, I don't think that's anything outside of what most people would know. So I think the thing that Kitty knows is that there used to be more of them. Is that Teller and Bell and a guy named Kieran used to get together and talk about used to bitch together, right? And they would do it like friends complaining over work, right? Just like normal stuff. But it was a little different because Kieran was a Sparkwright, or is a Sparkwright, and and Kieran had some significantly more access to the factories and like the insides of the factories than most of the workers did, and whatever he said really enraged Teller. And Kitty doesn't know what that is, but Kieran and Belle aren't supposed to have any official relationship that people know of, and because people have started grumbling about it on the street that Kieran is missing. Nobody knows where he is. But the three of them were all had all been talking. However, well, not a however to that. I mean, the downside is that you got a mixed result.
Yeah.
And so the content of that is that I don't think anyone harms Kitty, which is good. But Kitty is not at all subtle.
No.
And everybody that she talked to knows that you were asking her about it.
Okay.
You can resist that. You sort of, again, this is flashback time. You can proactively tell her like to keep it cool, but she comes back to you and she says, yeah, I asked my friend on the line. I was like, hey, my sister's investigating this. Do you know anything about it? And
yeah, I think that's something that Janice would know about Kitty. So I would try to preempt her loudmouth and say, first rule of investigation is you don't tell people you're investigating Kitty. And I want to resist with savvy.
And she's like, but how are you going to ask some questions? Anyway, it's fine.
Yeah.
There's a long night spent coaching Kitty.
Yeah.
Fuck this up.
Teachable moment.
You coach on it. And I think savvy sounds right, but we should double check.
Okay.
Conviction is resist consequences from deception or understanding. Savvy is resist consequences from mental strain or willpower. And force is resist consequences from physical strain or injury.
So it might be conviction.
Yeah, mental
I
strain
can see savvy here because it is like
deception. It's deception or understanding. Oh no, sorry. It is. I'm doing it wrong. Savvy is mental strain or willpower.
Wait, what? It is? No, that's not right.
Conviction and savvy are switched.
Conviction and savvy have their text things switched.
Yeah, I think I put them in the wrong place.
Yes. So it is resisting consequences from deception or understanding.
There you go.
Which is savvy.
That is savvy.
Yeah, the tooltips for them are switched. John.
Yeah, I'll fix that.
I have 2 dots and everything, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Just good for us to establish.
Good to know.
6 stress.
Oh, there's that
minus
6. There's that 6. Walk
Kitty,
away
I told
with
you to shut up.
All right, so I think that just it was a consequence. It could be, for those falling at foam, I could reduce it down to a minor consequence. But I feel like Janice specifically coached her on what to say, and so we're negating it. So cool. Yeah, so she gets you the information about there's this connection between Kieran and Teller and Belle, and that Kieran, like, obviously was complaining about work, like everyone was doing, and something that he was complaining about just set Teller off. So, yeah. And, Teller's still around. You can talk to him. In fact, you can talk to him probably in a couple hours because it's later that day, and you've got to put this thing out tonight.
Okay, so here's my proposal.
Or not, or ignore it.
Here's the game part, which I'm opening the mandate for people to see here. We have our set of boxes there for the mandate. The top row of boxes is another thing, so just ignore that for the moment. The bottom set of this 5x4 here starts with our warrant at the top and then leads to the sort of primary. It says boss right now, but that's actually the primary in the case at the bottom. So what I'm seeing here, I've just added to the mandate. We could go left and maybe try to follow this lead on a witness or collecting evidence with this Kieran person, or maybe go right with Teller and like actually take him as a person of interest and, you know, grab him, arrest him, do whatever we want to do to deal with Teller directly as a person, to take them off the board or whatever.
Yeah.
But I feel like what we just did there gave us both of those leads. And you could potentially see Teller on the far left behind Kieran. Like we have to go through Kieran to get to Teller maybe. But Sean just said, like, you have access to Teller. So I was like, okay, we'll just put him here on the right. So,
well, and in fact, you don't really have access to Kieran. Like you can find a witness.
we have to find him, right? Which is why he's not an actual cohort. He's like,
Yeah.
he's like a thing we have to collect evidence on.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's kind of a question of like approach, right? Which I feel like the inspector will have a lot to say about. But are we snatching people up and doing that, or are we following chains of evidence and going? Because the way this series of boxes is laid out, if you start in on the left side, it's way more witness and evidence heavy, and if you started on the right side, it's way more people heavy, like taking people out kind of thing.
And you can go both ways.
You
right?
can totally go both ways. Yeah,
because there's advantages to filling up entire rows. So
yes.
there's
filling up a whole row is very good actually. But
so there's not a strong reason not to do them both in time.
The reason is opportunity cost and pain and suffering. But otherwise, yeah, it's good to do.
I know what you're talking about.
So maybe we should have one brief word about how to do higher ranked PCs in a role playing game briefly. We haven't talked about this before stream, but one method that I think is interesting to think about is like Andrew's character outranks us and is our boss
by like 20 degrees.
By a lot.
Right?
Yeah.
Like not even like your boss couldn't, like your captain can't tell Uset what to do, right? Like
it would be tricky for that to happen. Yeah.
Yes. She'd have to like have a lot of weight. She'd have to pull in favors and make a big deal of it.
So we as players are like not like weird about it, and Andrew can play the character the way they want to, and Uset can say what she has to say and boss us around and all that. That's not gonna hurt our feelings. But when it comes to like what does the unit do, we as players can all like agree to what it is, and then that's the thing that Uset tells us to do.
Yeah.
So it's like a meta thing, sort of, right?
Yeah.
And then it's up to you, Andrew, if you want to play her differently and like sort of like cut across that consensus and be, you know, create friction or whatever you want to do.
Right. Because there's also a strong element of player antagonism that is welcome in this particular setting, even possibly more so than Blades. Like Blades, you know, you may be more focused than blue coats are, especially blue coats and inspectors. So I think agreeing to disagree and roll some dice is also a very valid option.
The argument about how to do it and the fact that we still kind of invariably progress towards doing the thing means that we can have those differences and have those arguments in character.
Yeah.
And whatever the people end up doing, if it's like the inspector orders you to go arrest someone and instead you go look for evidence, like the game still moves forward.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're working at cross purposes in that way.
Exactly.
So vis-a-vis us making this decision, I would love to have us do a little bit of talking in character.
Yeah, me too.
To get there, because we're still in the office, right? Like we've got everyone's presenting information.
Oh yeah, I should ask Nadja. Do you tell us what you know about Teller?
Because this was going to be my question, right?
Yeah,
Nadja.
I forgot to ask that.
Sent her character to go get.
Janice would want to talk about it.
Okay.
I also know that like well, here's one thing I know. Not one thing I know. One thing I think. If the information came through Kitty, I think Kitty would go in the back of an Ixis's book. Might not go up on the board. Might not be Might not. Now you don't have to say that it came from Kitty, but the moment Kitty is involved, in my understanding, Andrew, you totally tell me this wrong. everyone involved goes in the book.
I
All right,
already
well,
have a
Sam.
list.
let's just play it then. Let's play it.
Receipts.
So
Yeah.
I say blah blah blah. Slain wants Teller dead, and rumors about Kieran. What do you say?
I say that Teller is very connected to Bell Brogan. And I say nothing
Yeah.
about Kieran.
Yeah, and Uset is just like nodding and writing things down, and then like produces these index cards that have Citizen Brown, Citizen Gray, Citizen Red, Citizen Silver, Citizen Taupe, and sticks them up. And there's one for Teller, there's one for Mr. Slane, there's one for Bell Brogan, there's one for Kieran's the Sparkwright, and there's one for Roderick Dunville.
Oh. All right, hang on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hang
Because
on.
it's everyone involved.
Hang on. All right, I'm putting Dunville as our primary right now. I don't want to, but I am.
I mean, sure, have fun with that.
Okay. I'm just updating the Roll20 sheet here.
These things can change, right?
Feel
These aren't-
feel free to just type these in whenever you want, Andrew. Like whatever you've got as your
Yep.
like that's
Yeah.
that's fine.
I'll add them in a second here. But so yeah, she like just kind of like nods and steps up to the board and like pins things up, and then goes back and sits at her desk and like pivots around to like address the two of you again.
So while you're walking back and your back is turned for a moment, I look at Janice and I'm kind of like, are you got something? Like I just with my eyes, like.
And I look at you, and then I like glance over at Anixis, and I'm just like,
I
And
think I'm
so-
gonna have a smoke.
Having sat back down, she just says, well, the two of you have been assigned, and she just like ignores him saying he wants to smoke. She's just
I'm
like, I'm
taking,
talking, so you're
I'm
gonna
taking
listen.
my tobacco out and I can just kind of stop.
Yeah. The two of you have been assigned to this detail so that I can have people who know things about the area, its people, the citizenry. So what do we know about these people? How are they connected? And more importantly, who do we start with?
well, everyone knows. Well, everyone in Coleridge knows that Bell Brogan and her clan.
I can't give you a look.
I just look like, yo,
It sucks to be a Schrodinger. It sucks to be a Brogan.
it really does. And the more I talk about the shit your family's doing, the less time we have to talk about mine. So I'm just like, the Brogans are very mixed up in this unrest at the factory. I'm sure there's some connection between Bell and Teller, because he certainly doesn't make any coin, any gold, shouting on top of boxes. That's not a profession.
He
Industrial.
might get a few scales thrown his way.
Yeah, but not. He's eating better than he should. It seems like.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's not living the lap of luxury, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, who is? But he's definitely not like sleeping in a box on the corner somewhere, I don't think. Which is normally what happens to you when you're kicked out of the factory.
There's
I-
a smash against your door as somebody gets slammed into it. And like Officer Swimmer, who Janice, you know, is like a guy who just constantly gets moved around. He's just so freaking incompetent that like he can't ever stay in one precinct for long. He like obviously like was pushed by somebody and is like, hey, and then like kind of goes back and everyone like stares at you all for a second and then sort of moves on.
Yeah, when this crash happens, Janice doesn't even jump.
Yeah.
Like, she's so used to ambient, chaotic noise.
I walk over and I like pull the blind down and I'm like, just lower it all the way down.
I feel like as you're like right as you're getting to the bottom, right as you're like right at eye level, there's no like timepieces. Do we have timepieces in
Yeah,
Dustfall?
yeah. They have pocket watches and stuff.
somehow, timing wise, Parker like walks by and is like swinging his pocket watch as you like are lowering the thing down.
I kind of like tip my cap and like bloop.
Yeah. Sorry, go on. I'm just interrupting you because you're in the precinct and it's chaotic.
Yeah. And I say, it seems to me the most straightforward thing to do is get Teller, question him, and get a better understanding of the root of this unrest, this problem. Kieran isn't our case. We haven't been assigned a missing persons.
Can't argue with that.
Well, it's important to remember that we are here to end the disruption to the workforce by whatever means. That's the mandate. And she like indicates the warrant on the board.
Right. And there is no indicator that she's ever given that she has any hesitation or second thoughts about that mandate. Is there?
No, she's just like, cool, yeah, this is a job. We're doing the
Got
job.
it. Okay, cool.
And she says she goes out of her way to say by any means necessary.
Oh no, I picked up on that actually.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean,
and
you even have the law on your side. The Necessary Means Act. It specifically allows you to do whatever you need to do to get it done.
So yeah, she like leans back and says, I have an appointment this evening, so go fetch this Teller fellow quickly for questioning. And she like pulls out a pocket watch and she's like, within the hour, and like snaps it shut and puts it back in her pocket and just like goes back to her like writing.
I give Janice a long look.
Yeah, it's mutual.
Like,
Rector's got things to do. Important people to talk to.
yes, Inspector. And then I kind of like when you like look down in your notebook, I look at Janice and I'm like, come here. And we head out.
As you're walking out the door, she says, "Oh, and Officer Brogan." And she like looks up from her paper.
I like scowl to myself and then I turn around brightly and I'm like, yes, Inspector.
Your beard.
Yes, Inspector.
And she like goes back to her notes at not really in fashion anymore. And like like that's it. There's no like she's looked away from you already. Just like
And is Brogan's beard like really unkempt?
It's weird. It's like it's weirdly big and like not. It is not in fashion at all. No, especially not in Duskwall. It would be in fashion on the rocky slopes of a mountain in Scovlin, but not here.
And yeah, that's kind of what she's getting at is that like he needs to be careful about showing his colors in that way.
That is way too subtle for me.
I was gonna say like
this little dig at him,
but I'm gonna choose to understand you, even though it's a little out of character. I think it's more interesting if I get it.
Cool.
So yeah, I actually pause for a moment and think, and kind of shrug like,
And like maybe she'll go a little further to like get through to him, but she says, out there, a lot of refugees. You wouldn't want to get confused for one. Fresh off the boat and all. And she like very deliberately makes eye contact with you while saying this.
I like clear as a bell, Inspector. Clear as a bell.
Yeah.
The funny part is, as new as Brogan is to Duskwall, you just got shipped in, right? Like if we want to talk about somebody who's fresh off the boat, it is definitely a nexus. Right?
But one walk like across the street and back was enough to like assess the issue and address it. That's all it took. It was like bang, just
okay, cool. I know this
you
place.
look too much like a Scovelander,
which I totally do. I think I have like long hair too. I have like kind of wild hair. Yeah.
So are you
cool?
Gonna go make an arrest?
I think we're gonna go talk shit first.
We're gonna go talk shit first. Yeah. We are gonna cut to the operation here at some point, but before that, we're gonna talk shit.
Nice.
So like maybe like let me pull up the map here. there's like an alley behind the precinct.
Durley Way.
There's not an alley. There's like a yard there, like directly south.
Yeah, that little space.
Yeah, that right there. And I think that was like it was probably used for who knows what back in the day. And there's like places for stables. There might even be some like blue coat horses and stuff kept in there or something like that.
Some goats.
Definitely goats. Yeah, I bet they have like a horse or two though.
Sure.
And I like
There's like the one really sad horse that Coleridge has.
yeah,
Is in there, like nibbling on a little tuft
It's
of.
the one like officer.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's-
exactly.
Oh, and the like heavy assault carriage is in here too, like with like the lead plates on the side and like spiked wheels and like the battering ram that they like drive up to places. It's just sitting in here, and it's like the grass has grown over the wheels. Like the fucking extortion gang doesn't need that. They could use it, I guess, but no one's used it for a while.
Yeah.
So I'm leaning up against the carriage, and we're having our like, employee bitch fest here, and
Yeah, I think
I'm like, I don't know, Janice. What do you think? I'm like pulling my long hair out and holding it out, like, give it a
and
whack.
Janice is very restless. Like she's been like basically at parade rest in front of the inspector this entire time, but now we see her body language kind of return to what we saw at the very beginning in her parents' house. And she's visibly annoyed, and it's kind of like arms are crossed, foot is tapping on the ground, and she's glaring. And she says, "It shouldn't be too hard to go round him up real quick. I don't know. This fucking inspector." The simultaneous sigh.
Uh-huh. I sort of kick a rock, and I'm like, sounds like Belle's bankrolling him, though, yeah?
Yeah. What do you want to do about that?
Well, she's not going to listen to me, I can tell you that much. But I don't like the sound of her building an organization. It's going to make her a bigger target. Maybe it's best if that got nipped in the bud.
It's not just bad for her and hers. It's bad for all of us.
Got
It's
that
bad
right.
for Coleridge. This whole place will burn down. I don't know what she's thinking.
Swimmer comes out back, clearly like leaving something, like clearly like trying to get away from me in the precinct, and he sees both of you, and he's like, "Oh, I'll just go stand on the other side." Of the
What's
yard."
this guy's rep, Sean? What's his deal?
His rep is that no one knows his name because he's popped between so many precincts that like they just call him Swimmer, and like
She's incompetent.
he's just
He's worked on the
incompetent.
boats a lot.
Yeah, right. He's worked on the boats. He's not anymore. He definitely is staying way clear of Inspector Reset.
But he's an outsider. He's not part of the gang.
How do you mean?
The Bluecoats Bravos gang.
He isn't yet. He very well could be.
Okay.
He tries to impress Kara and Parker, who are two members who definitely are part of it, and generally speaking, they tease him and they kind of bully him, and he takes it, which is slowly ingratiating him to them.
I'm like, hey, Swimmer.
Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to get in your way.
It's all right. Come on. I like take out some rolling papers and I make a cigarette for him and I pass it over. What do you think of our new inspector? And I don't say it like a trap. Like, I'm very jovial. Like, in fact, before he answers, I'm like, seems kind of tightly wound.
He works at it a couple times before he gets the cigarette started. He's like intense,
Yeah.
and also kind of looks at his cuffs of his uniform that are like well treated. Like his uniform's in good condition. He either takes care of it himself or spends his meager paycheck to have someone clean it is like fancy.
Mhm.
Like, why are we? This is the same old problem. Why is an inspector here?
You want to do us a favor? And I kind of glance at Janice, like, you know, we're all friends here.
Yeah.
I don't want to get on your team. I heard about you guys.
No one wants to be on this team, Swimmer. But Jan and I, do I call you Jan? Is that okay? Or do I call you Janice?
Janice, fine.
Okay. Jan and I, we got a thing to take care of tonight, but it'd be nice if someone kept an eye on that inspector, huh? What do you think?
He looks behind himself like you're talking like
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's no big deal. Just let us know where she goes, who she talks to, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You want me to spy on an imperial inspector? He says as like openly and bluntly.
Yeah, I like pat him on the chest when he's saying that. I'm like, hey, oh, no one's talking about spying here, Summer. It's just part of your patrol.
Thanks, John. I definitely think you.
I'm gonna control this mofo.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Roll for
I
that.
want to help.
And this is super risky. And the risk is that Swimmer is going to immediately make a beeline for Nixus and be like, they told me to spy on you. Because he doesn't have that level of cool. So that is exactly, or no, he wouldn't go to a Nixus. He'd go to the captain.
Okay.
Because the
Yeah,
captain,
he snitches to his commanding officer.
he stitches to his commanding officer because he's terrified of a Nixus. Like he doesn't feel like she's approachable. But
That works.
You see in his eyes this like, shit, what should I do? So that's what's at stake. Is if you get a mixed result or fail, he is going to go and tell Captain Marvel, which may or may not actually backfire on you. That might not be it. She might not care.
Honestly, I would prefer the captain than Parker, but still, like, stakes are stakes. It matters.
Yeah, no, it's definitely the captain.
So is it risky or desperate?
It's risky.
Okay. Standard effect.
Um,
So let me tell you the effect I'm going for. I just want Swimmer to, on his regular patrol tonight, take a wider turn somewhere and see where the inspector goes, and like not spy on her, just like see where she goes.
track of her.
He doesn't have to like sneak into the thing or whatever. Like just
but if he knows what building she entered,
yeah, that's
that would
fine.
be-
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's he's patrol. That's a thing in his bailiwick. He's worked lots of boats. He knows how to get around the city.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been around the city. He's probably served in half the precincts in the city already.
Okay.
So yeah.
So-
risky standard.
Standard. Okay.
Yeah.
How are
And
you helping
Janice
me?
is helping.
I think I'm like helping reinforce this sense. It's like, no, it's just, I
no
mean,
big
you're
deal.
going to walk there anyway. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Nothing shady. Don't
It's
even have to.
routine.
It's okay. It's okay if she sees you. Don't worry about it.
I think that gives him a little measure of relief, like knowing that if it's not he has to hide from her. It doesn't change the stakes, but I think that changes like the texture of his response a little bit. So if he does go tell the captain, he maybe won't say it with such like, oh my god, they're having me spy. It'll just be like, captain, I don't know.
Yeah,
if I should on this. So
I don't actually say this is official Blue Coat business, but I sort of imply that keeping track of the inspector is good for the precinct, and we can't do it tonight. So
All right.
someone should do it.
So there's a line he's heard many, many, many times, and if you want to use this line, it's definitely Devil's Bargain.
Okay.
We got to look out for our own.
I'll totally
and if you
use
don't
that.
mind using the line that Parker uses 10 times a day,
Oh yeah.
he's been indoctrinated into that as being a blue coat, as trying to suck up to Parker, as all these things.
I am 100% on board. I want to be a blue coat. I don't want to
Right.
I don't want to be in Parker's gang, but
I just
I'm like, yeah.
the implication that I'm saying is that you're at least in his eyes taking one step closer to looking like Parker.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
I will take that.
Like he hasn't like joined any group yet, and so he's sussing them out and he's making appraisals of you.
Mhm.
Not that he's in a high demand or anything, but
No, that's what I'm counting on. Okay, cool.
yep.
So I got 2 bonus dice, and we're good. Oof, oof.
Wow, all
No.
them dice.
No 6, just a 4.
Okay. Well, he says, yeah. No, that makes sense. We gotta watch out. I gotta let Captain know. She said I needed to report any deviations to my patrol, but she'll agree, right?
Yeah, I glance at Jan. And I'm like,
I mean, she's probably curious too.
Sure. Yeah.
best thing
He
for
wants
everybody.
to be reassured.
Best thing for everybody.
Yeah. So I'll just let her know that I'm gonna have a little wider route. Just make sure we're watching out for each other.
I clap
And,
my hand on his shoulder, and I'm like, Swimmer, you're all right.
He it's almost imperceptible, but you see him flinch when you feel you don't. Janice doesn't see it. You feel him flinch a little when you put your hand on his shoulder, and it's like he is trying so hard to bat it down. Like he's really trying not to do it, but there's a little like just shake, and he's like, and he kind of winces and then immediately smiles. Yeah.
And I sort of like invite him to leave by putting my hand on his shoulder and then like turning him around and pointing him at the door. You know?
Yeah, he's like, oh, I should go now. Okay, all right. And then he takes one more puff and then like drops the half smoked cigarette on the ground and stomps it out. And like, there's something that's wrong about that because anyone else would like poke it out and like save it for later.
Right.
Like he doesn't.
Something's up with this guy. Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't like smoking. Who
Yeah,
knows?
who
But
knows?
he doesn't. Anyone else would have saved it.
Totally.
Cool. Yeah. So he'll tail her and he'll let Captain know.
Yes. Excellent. And we're gonna do an op without the inspector. It sounds like the inspector's got her own shit to deal with.
Sorry, I messed with Inspector's life early on.
Hey, that's the way it goes. You can't count on, the brass.
Of course not.
My thinking is I will participate in the interrogation of this person after you arrest them, which
Yes.
I imagine is being part of the operation.
I 100% agree.
While y'all are making an arrest, I'm out buying a gift, and then I come back and interrogate the person with you.
I think cross-cutting from like party with Lord Governor and us grabbing a dude, like that's a really great thing. So
Yeah.
we should totally
See
do
both
that.
parts of it.
That's super fun.
Let's cut to that after our break.
All right, sounds good. I will flip us over and we'll be back in just a bit.
Awesome.